Hello, my name is Ash. If you like creepy things that keep you up at night, definitely hit that like and subscribe button so I can keep these videos going. Today we're going to be diving into one of my favorite paranormal mysteries. We are going to be doing full timeline evidence and theories of the Dyatlov Pass incident. This is one of those topics that genuinely keeps me up at night. What happened? Okay, let's just dive right in. In the winter of 1959, 9 experienced hikers set out into the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They were young, they were trained, and they were confident in their abilities. They kept diaries, they took photographs, and they joked about the cold. Then one night, on February 1st, something happened that forced every single one of them out of their tents, and into temperatures as low as minus 30 degrees Celsius. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident is still debated, still dissected, and deeply unsettling. Before we talk about real mystery, we gotta talk about competence. These were not tourists. They weren't thrill seekers chasing danger. They were students and graduates of the Ural Polytechnic Institute, trained in winter survival, navigation, and emergency response. The group consisted of 9 hikers. Igor Dyatlov, age 23. He was the expedition leader, a radio engineering student known for meticulous planning and calm decision-making. Friends described him as dependable and methodical, the kind of person you trusted instinctively. Then there was Zina Adia Kolmogorova, age 22. Energetic, determined, optimistic even in brutal conditions. She had already completed multiple difficult winter hikes and was considered emotionally strong under pressure. Then there was Lyudmila Debunina, age 20. She was famously tough. On a previous expedition, she continued hiking after being shot in the leg. Pain did not stop her. Cold did not intimidate her. Next was Yuri Doroshenko, age 21. Physically powerful, confident. On an earlier expedition, he reportedly chased off a bear. He was a man not easily frightened. Next was Yuri Korvonishenko, age 23, a construction graduate who worked on a secret nuclear facility, known for his humor and keeping morale high, even when conditions became miserable. Rustin Slobodin, age 23, was a long-distance runner, quiet, focused, but had exceptional stamina. Nikolai Thibodeau-Brigonel, age 23, analytical, intelligent, from a Franco-Russian family. Friends described him as thoughtful and observant. Alexander Kolotov, age 24, was a nuclear physics student and had worked in facilities previously handling radioactive materials, a detail that would later raise eyebrows. Then lastly, there was Semyon Zolotarov, age 38. He was a World War II veteran, a decorated soldier, much older than the rest, and he joined the expedition at the last minute. He also insisted on being photographed extensively, as if documenting his presence. And perhaps the most settling thing of all, his name was not his birth name. Even before the hike began, there were several quiet oddities. The expedition officially began January 27, 1959. The group traveled by train, then truck, then foot. Spirits were high. Their diaries were filled with jokes, songs, and playful teasing. On January 28th, Yuri Yudin turned back due to severe joint pain. He would later say that leaving the group felt wrong, but believed that he would see them again. He never did. The remaining 9 continued north to Mount Otorten, passing through remote terrain and worsening weather. On February 1st, they reached the slopes of Dead Mountain, and that evening they pitched their tents on an exposed slope rather than descending into the forest. This decision has been debated endlessly, but experienced hikers note that it wasn't irrational. Visibility was poor and retracing steps would be dangerous. The diary entries from that night are calm. Lyudmila wrote about cold wind and joked about the conditions. Another entry reads, "We know the cold, we know what we're doing." They took photographs, they smiled, they showed no fear. This is the last time we hear from them. When the group failed to return by February 12th, concern grew. Search parties were finally dispatched February 20th. Students, volunteers, military personnel. And February 26th, they found the tent. It was partially collapsed. and it had been cut open from the inside, a detail that cannot be overstated. Experienced hikers do not destroy their shelter in extreme cold unless staying inside means certain death. Inside the tents were boots, clothes, money, and the cameras. Outside, footprints led away. Some barefoot, some in socks, some only wearing light footwear. There were no signs of a struggle, no signs of another group. The first bodies were found beneath a large cedar tree. Both the Yoris were barely dressed. Their hands showed signs of slight burns, likely from trying to warm themselves from a small fire. Branches high above them were broken, indicating that they had climbed the tree, possibly to look for a tent, or possibly to escape something. They both died of hypothermia. Between the cedar tree and the tent, 3 more bodies were found: Igor, Zenadia, and Rustern. Their positioning suggested that they were trying to return to the tent. Slobodin had a cracked skull, not severe enough to kill him, but unexplained. All 3 died from hypothermia. It wasn't until May, after the snow melted, that the final 4 were discovered. They were buried deep in a ravine, and their injuries were catastrophic. Lyudmila's ribs were crushed inward. Zolotaryov's chest was shattered. Thibodeau-Brionneau's skull was severely damaged. Kolevatov showed signs of extreme internal damage. There were no external wounds consistent with an attack, but Dubinina was missing her tongue, her eyes, and parts of her face. The medical examiner wrote that the force involved was comparable to a car crash. What's strange is several pieces of clothing tested positive for radiation. Officials claimed it was harmless contamination, but questions lingered. Recovered cameras show disturbing final images, darkness, motion blur, and what appears to be a glowing object in the sky. Around the same time, locals reported fireballs drifting slowly in the sky. The investigation was closed quickly. Cause of death: a compelling natural force. Like, what does that mean? The files were classified, and families were discouraged from asking questions. Now to talk about theories. The official modern explanation is avalanche, but critics point out the lack of debris, the intact footprints, and the injuries that don't match avalanche trauma. Some people claim military testing, that parachute mines create shockwaves that damage organs without breaking skin, and the area was known for military testing zones, but documentation is missing. And personally, my favorite theory: UFOs. It's unprovable, but not entirely dismissible. And we're left with the questions. Why cut the tent? Why leave half naked? Why split up? Why such blunt trauma? Why radiation? It is why? So many questions with this case. Whatever happened that night, it was sudden, it was violent, and it scared them. It scared these extremely tough, experienced hikers. I want to know your theory in the comments, please, because this is my favorite topic of all, and I'd love to know what you think. If you enjoyed this, definitely let me know, and I'll do more of these in the future. Definitely hit that like and subscribe so I can keep doing these in the future. Bye bye!